Professor Matt Beane. His titled presentation is Worker in the Loop, Complementing AI-Enabled Robots in Conditions that Drive Substitution. Professor Matt Beane is an assistant professor in the Technology Management Program at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and he's a digital fellow at the Stanford Digital Economy Lab, as well as a research affiliate of the MIT Initiative on the Digital Economy. All right, Professor Beane.
Thank you very much, Christy and Eric and everyone. What a fascinating opportunity to get up to speed on a bunch of cool work really efficiently. This is great. As is my norm, I am throwing relatively underbaked work in front of a very smart group of folks looking for feedback on anything. This is work coming out of quite a large research program. This is one of a number of papers. I'm just going to flash by slides here that list people's names. I'm not going to speak through this stuff because it would take too much time, but just know I'm backed by a team. This general program that's focused on warehousing and AI-enabled robotics is focused on these two questions. That is, neither of these questions is the focus of today's paper, however. Basically, we're looking for the positive needle in the negative haystack, however. Anytime a new technology comes along, you expect it to go terribly for everyone, and that is what we find. Here's a quick look at all the data. Again, that we have in hand. This is an ongoing effort, so we have the key thing to focus on here, though, for this paper is that we have 8 vendors in our sample that are commercializing AI-enabled robotic systems for repetitive manual work in warehouses. All of them use AI. All of them are handling roughly comparable work. And we have 2 years of data across numerous sites, sort of pre, during, and post-implementation kinds of data. The question that I'm going to focus on here, and that's the focus of this paper, is how do organizations manage to complement workers with these solutions when conditions strongly favor substitution? Given that, Eric, you're on the line here and that this is a conversation that comes up quite a bit, I'm not going to give you lit review slides. In fact, I welcome thoughts about that. But we could have a whole separate conversation about the work that has been done that shows generally in the U.S. economy, the political, legal, cultural, and operational conditions in organizations militate towards substitution. So it's quite a puzzle to get a firm that successfully, not just attempts, but successfully implements a complementing oriented strategy. This paper is going to be based on comparison between 2 actual firms in our sample, Omicron and Theta. They are comparable on numerous dimensions. So, these are dimensions you might think would make a difference, but don't. So are they the same size? Did they raise a big Series A? Do they have top quality talent? Are they solving the same kind of problem? Do they have the same business model? Do they have the same kind of customers? Are they replacing the same or focusing on the same kind of workers? Are they using different kinds of development approaches and so on? This is a provisional list, so if you have others you'd like to ask about or suggest, welcome them. How's their AI doing? In other words, is it good? However, these 2 firms, and one of them is very unusual, which is Theta, but Omicron is the very representative of what we take to be the zeitgeist and our sample, which is basically, let's reduce the number of humans required to accomplish this task. In this case, this is a pick and pack task, so you could imagine taking some good out of a bin and putting it into a box that's destined for a customer. Theta had a very different orientation on this problem, which is basically we want to try to scale human expertise to solve remote manipulation problems. And I'll give you some more detail about these 2 firms now. So the sort of funding demo for Omicron was again prototypical for this industry, which is they were thrown a bunch of surprise objects in a bin, and lo and behold, their algorithm could handle them amazingly compared to the status quo. We have a good number of firms like that. Theta started in a very different way. They wanted to enable a human to perform remotely with AI assistance, physical manipulation of objects in a remote environment. Omicron generated data, the sort of core data that informed the development of the capability that Omicron was trying to sell is repeated grasp attempts on an object. You may have seen arm farms at, say, Google and other organizations where you have numerous robots trying to grasp objects. That's because simulation is not a great way to get data on whether you are successfully identifying, grasping, singulating, and then inserting an object in its target. Theta, however, their sort of core training data for their algorithms was control inputs of these remote operators. And so the focal user, I'm sort of abstracting for sake of clarity here. These firms focused on numerous parties, but this is a place where these firms really diverge sharply. So Omicron, like many other firms, is focused on an industrial engineer at this organization that it served and developing their capabilities such that that industrial engineer could insert it cost effectively into a process and thereby increase productivity. And the main way you do that is to reduce errors and increase throughput. And the main way you do that is to get humans out of that process. So they were focused on that industrial engineer and making this tool useful for them. Theta was focused on a moving target, somebody that we're calling a fleet supervisor. This is someone initially who is supervising a remote robot doing a job. It's a decidedly non-scalable activity, and their actions to manipulate objects using that robot are training data for the algorithm that Theta was building. The improvement path for Omicron and firms that are more typical is just to try to improve their automated performance of their system, whereas Theta, and we'll describe this in the paper in numerous ways and dimensions, was trying to encode the expertise of users as they were solving problems, scale that a single user from one bot relationship to one-to-many, so that one user could supervise many bots, and then redirect that fleet supervisor to new products, markets, adjacent challenges, while leaving the automated capability behind. So this is an alternative strategy that now we have multiple firms enacting, a few, but multiple, and successfully, equally financially successful. They're successful on dimensions you might care about. In 2012, I wrote a piece about this possibility, except here's what I missed for the MIT Tech Review. And I admitted this on April 7th, and there's much more to learn. But the main thing is the finding of the paper was available on April 7th, I think the core one, which is that one way to make progress in AI and complement workers is to use control inputs of a diverse group of people trying to do work through that robot as training data. There are pernicious ways of doing this, but we now have in our data set ways of doing this that seem to be a tide that raises all boats, that workers end up with more skill, more opportunity, and more workers are hired, and the algorithm improves in a way that is comparable with respect to real world outcomes. So thank you very much. And I think if it's less than 5 minutes, I'm impressed with myself.
Amazing. That was awesome. Thank you. Very quick. And if anybody has one question for Matt Beane. Alex Kowalski. The fleet supervisor is employed where?
Initially in Theta, and then ultimately both in the customer organization and in Theta and in third-party organizations in different ways. The role itself fractures and diversifies over time.
Cool. Very cool. All right, terrific. Thank you guys so much. Fascinating work.